Hello guys, I am Dr. P.K. Verma. All the students of biology and my teacher colleagues are most welcome in the class. In the previous sessions, I have discussed a structure of flower, formation of microspores and pollen grains, development of the megaspore and formation of ovum as well as pollination. Now I shall discuss fertilization in the flowering plant. So you have studied about the pollen grains from a microspore mother cell. 4 microspores are formed. The microspore mother cell is diploid, but the microspores are haploid with a single nucleus. However, during maturation, its haploid nucleus divides and forms 2 nuclei. One nuclei forms the generative cell and another nuclei forms the vegetative cell. It is also sometimes called tube cell. In most cases, when the pollen grains start germination, then the generative nucleus again divides to form the sperm cells or the male gametic nuclei. Now in a mature ovule, there is an embryo sac that has developed from the functional megaspore. It has 3 antipodal cells near the chalaza or towards the chalaza. There are 3 cells in the egg apparatus near micropyle, but only one is the ovum. 2 other cells are called synergid cells. These are useful or helpful in the process of fertilization. In the center, the 2 polar nuclei or the central nuclei became fused together by performing the first fertilization to form the secondary nucleus, and it is also known as primary sperm nucleus, PEN. Now let us discuss the mechanism of fertilization. You all are aware that in higher plants and animals, fertilization is oogamous, that is a male and a female gamete are formed. The male gamete may be called a sperm and the female gamete is certainly an ovum. So it is oogamy. So fusion of the 2 gametes to form a diploid zygote is called fertilization. Now in the flowering plant, S.G. Navaschin at first described double fertilization or triple fertilization. He found that there are 2 or 3 times fertilization in the flowering plant. The pollen grain or microspore come on the surface of stigma, finally become mature and start germination. For germination, pollen grains need sufficient relative humidity, presence of some sugar, calcium as well as boron ions. These chemicals are supplied normally by the secretions present on stigma. It is secreted by the epithelial cells of stigma, and so it is called stigmatic fluid. Now, for germination, a large vacuole is formed inside the pollen grain, and it pushes whole cytoplasm and the two nuclei into the pollen tube. Pollen tubes comes through one of the germ pores present in the pollen grain. At first, the vegetative nucleus enters into pollen tube, and it is followed by generative nucleus. Later on, the generative nucleus forms two male gametic nuclei or the sperms. Now, the growth and development of pollen tube is under control of its vegetative nucleus. It helps in secretion of certain digestive enzymes like pectinase, glucuronidase, and beta amylase. These enzymes digest the parenchyma cells present in the style, and in most cases, due to these parenchyma cells, the style is solid. So when the parenchyma dissolves, free passage is made for the growth of pollen tube. However, there are certain unique cases. In Lilium and Ribes, the style is hollow, and therefore the pollen tube develops along the wall of this hollow stylar canal. The surface of the wall is usually mucilaginous. In Oenothera, Petunia, and Datura, the pollen tubes grow through the intercellular spaces in the style, that is, the spaces present in between the parenchyma cells. In the third exception, Phaseolus vulgaris and Phaseolus coccineus, the pollen tube usually grow in the style close to the vascular bundle. Now, whatever may be the path of movement and development of pollen tube, the growth is always directed toward ovary and towards the ovule. Such unidirectional growth is perhaps due to hydrotropic, chemotropic, and certain mechanical factors. The chemotropic substances must be released from the ovule itself. It has been seen that the two synergid cells that have finger-like structures or the fusiform apparatus secrete certain carbohydrates, mainly the monosaccharides, that attract the pollen tube and helps its growth towards the ovule, especially towards the micropyle. In most of the cases, the pollen tube, before coming to the ovule, already has two male gametic nuclei, but in this diagram, these nuclei are not shown. These are much behind the vegetative nucleus present in the anterior part of the pollen tube. This pollen tube can enter into ovule through micropyle or through the side wall or through chalaza. Accordingly, it is called porogamy, mesogamy, and chalazogamy. in the NEET examination or any other competitive examination, the term porogamy and mesogamy are frequently asked. Now, the pollen tube grows towards micropyle directly or through the wall of the ovule and enter into embryo sac. Their membranes fuse together. Before this fusion, the vegetative nucleus dissolves, as now it has no role. The two gametic nuclei now enter into embryo sac. One gametic nuclei, that is the male nucleus, fuses with secondary nucleus or primary endosperm nucleus. This secondary nucleus or the primary endosperm nucleus is diploid because the two polar nuclei already have fused earlier, that is, they have undergone first fertilization. So after fusion of the male gamete, it becomes triploid, that is, the endosperm is formed by fusion of three cells, two polar nuclei and a male gamete. The zygote is formed from the haploid ovum after fusion of the second male gamete, and it is said that the synergid cells help in transfer of the male nucleus into the ovum. After fertilization, the zygote forms embryo proper with an embryonic axis and one or two cotyledons, on the basis of which the seeds are called monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous. The triploid endosperm forms nutritive tissue. In most monocots, particularly wheat, rice, maize, etc., the fruit wall is thin and dry. It becomes adhered to the wall of ovule, that is integument, and therefore entire food is stored inside the endosperm even after drying of the seeds. The major part of the rice and maize or wheat is made of endosperm, and the food helps the embryo when the embryo germinates to form new generation of plant. Now the ovule forms seed, integument forms seed coat, and the wall of ovary or pericarp forms the fruit wall. The outer layer is epicarp, middle is mesocarp, and inner is endocarp. In mango, epicarp can be removed after ripening. The mesocarp forms pulp, and the endocarp forms a stony hard seed coat. That is, the true seed coat is inside it, and the outer hard layer is made of endocarp of the fruit wall. Now, it has already been discussed during pollination, that is, self-pollination is harmful for evolution of the plant, because whenever there is self-pollination, the chance of appearance of the poor recessive characters is higher. at least 25% of the progeny may become inferior. It is called inbreeding depression. Sometimes the recessive alleles cause some genetic disorder, and because the offspring have no new allele, it cannot develop adaptation in the changing climatic condition. So, in addition to the genetic disorders, inadaptability is the another harmful effect of self-fertilization. Therefore, nature has preferred to favor cross-pollination and disfavor self-pollination. How it is possible? There are processes like unisexuality, self-sterility, dichogamy, hercogamy, and heterostyly. Now let us see all these 5 cases by taking 1 or 2 examples. Now the plant Palmyra palm is unisexual. Male and female plants are different. Here the first photograph is that of the male plant of papaya. You can see that no fruit is seen in it. But the second plant is a female that has a number of fruits. So these are unisexual, and therefore there is always cross-pollination and cross-fertilization. Now the second case is self-sterility. In case of malva, the pollen grains coming from same flower does not germinate. It becomes completely sterile and incompatible. But in petunia and tomato, the self-pollinated grains germinate but very slowly. Therefore, if some of the pollen grains come from other flower, they grow faster and successfully fertilize the ovules. Now this photograph is that of petunia, and the another is the malva plant. These are garden plants and they belong to family Malvaceae, in which Dhatura also belongs to. Dhatura is a wild plant, locally available. The third case is dichogamy. The flowers are hermaphrodite or bisexual, but the androecium and gynoecium do not mature at the same time. They mature at different times. In case of Aristolochia, the flowers are protandrous, that is, androecium become mature earlier, at least 1 day before maturation of gynoecium. But another plant is salvia. It is protogynous. The gynoecium matures earlier than the androecium. So they must have cross-pollination. These two plants have been discussed in case of entomophily in the earlier section. In Aristolochia there was a insect trap mechanism, and in salvia there was a lever mechanism of pollination. Now, hercogamy means an obstruction between the endosperm and gynoecium. What type of obstruction? You can see this photograph. It is gloriosa plant, gloriosa flower. You can see that the anthers are out of flowers near the basal part, and the gynoecium, the style is here, and gynoecium hides in between the petals. So it is difficult to transfer the pollen grain directly from anther to the stigma. The insect carry pollen grains into them, and because the insects travel on a number of flowers, there is greater chance of cross-pollination rather than self-pollination. Now, there are many flowers in which either the style is very long so that the stigma swing in air. In another case, the filament may be very long and the anthers come out of flower. So there is a physical distance between endosperm and gynoecium. In this photograph, a flower of primula is seen. Only the male and female sex organs have been shown. It is the stigma projecting out of the flower. And where are the anthers? These are the 5 anthers deeper in the flower. So here also entomophily occurs. Insects carry the pollen grains and chance of cross-pollination is higher than the self-pollination. In this way, you have come to know almost everything about sexual reproduction in the flowering plant, but for a better knowledge you must revise the chapters in class 11, the fruits and seeds. I will also try to give a brief account of the fruit and seeds of flowering plants along with the basic knowledge of embryogenesis and development of endosperm. Thank you very much.